Hello and welcome to Jolineknitsalot. This is my show about knitting and crafting and the things I get up to here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. It is those strange days between Christmas and New Year's where everything seems to slow down and you never know what day of the week it is. And we all get to take some time to just catch our breaths. I hope that the last couple of weeks have been lovely for you. I hope that if you were celebrating holidays that they were kind. And I hope that if you were not celebrating any holidays that you were enjoying the change of season where you are. Here in Edmonton, the shadows are very long. It is the shortest days of the year right now, but every day we get a little bit more sunlight and that's something that is really lovely. By the time January rolls around, I tend to notice a little bit, especially by mid-January when my birthday is, I tend to notice that we have a little bit more sunlight. There's more sunlight later on in the day, so that's really nice. And I hope you're enjoying that too. I have a couple of finished objects to share with you, but they aren't here because they've either been worn or gifted. So let me show you some pictures of things that I've finished recently. The first thing that I finished was the Nutcracker socks. This was a knit-along that was hosted by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. And every 2 days we got a little piece of the pattern that mirrored the I would say the story of the Nutcracker, more closely the ballet of the Nutcracker, which I'm pretty familiar with. And I knitted these socks for my daughter who is a dancer. And this is what they looked like. I used leftover yarns that I had lying around. The navy color is some Magpie Fibers Swanky, which is a cashmere sock yarn, very nice. And the other two colors are Sheepy's Metropolis. One is the Warsaw color, that's the gray, and the red is Naples. This was a really fun pattern because I enjoyed knitting a little bit of these socks every couple of days. I did knit both of them at the same time, so I'd knit the section on one sock and then the other sock. And it was a really nice way to get a project done and also be surprised by the little pattern elements that came up every couple of days. The other thing that I finished was my Cozy Knitter Advent socks. These, as ever, are a stripe a day knit. It is a yarn dyed by the Cozy Knitter, who is a Canadian dyer from Ontario, and many people are familiar with her 24 stripe Advent skein. This year, the stripes were a fade, and that was really lovely. I really enjoyed the way the socks turned out, but the first few stripes, I would say the first week even, the colors were quite similar in my skein, and so it made it a little bit hard to tell when one day's stripe ended and the next day's stripe began. That wasn't a hardship by any stretch of the imagination, but it became more obvious later on as I progressed through the skein that where to stop for one day to the next. I really like these socks. I've already worn them. And as ever, I really like the base that the Cozy Knitter uses. It's sort of a heavier sock base. I'm not sure what is so special about it, but it really makes a not a thick sock, but a firm sock for me. And I really like wearing my Advent socks. In fact, I wear them all year round. They get a lot of wear, and I've worn through a couple pairs. So it's nice to have another pair off the needles and into my sock drawer. I have a couple of things that I have been working on that I'll share with you now. And then I thought I'd share with you some of my plans for 2024. So the first thing I have is a sock. This was my Christmas Eve cast on because I had finished my Advent socks. I've got tails all over the place. And this was just a ball of yarn that I had deep from stash that I thought would be really nice to knit up. These are some mustache yarns. And if you are familiar with mustache, you'll know that she does perfect match socks. So when you buy a 100 gram skein of her sock yarn, you get two. It's divided in two, 50 grams, and they start at the same point. So they're meant to match perfectly. I only round up half of or one of the halves of the skein, and I'm knitting some stripy socks. This colorway is called The Doctor, and I enjoy watching Doctor Who, and there was a Christmas special, so I thought these would be great to be knitting while I'm watching Doctor Who this season. I used a sparkly sock yarn. This is some Strolls Glimmer, I think, from Knit Picks that I bought on a D-stash on Ravelry because I like this sparkly yarn so much. And then each stripe is, there are 14 stripes, and they go all the way to the 13th Doctor, who is Jodie Whittaker. So each stripe is meant to be one of the different doctors. And I have been knitting on these quite a bit. I popped in an afterthought, or a short row heel. This is the Butterfly Heel by Kay Jones. And I've had a chance to work on these at some soccer games that we've had lately. My younger daughter is in a soccer tournament, and so that gave me an opportunity to be knitting. And yeah, I'm almost done the first sock. I have, let me see, how many more stripes do I have? I have 3 more stripes and then the toe. And this is how much yarn I have left. So I'm hoping I can get another sock exactly like this one and not have to wind up the second ball of yarn. We will see. I'm cautiously optimistic. So I might be stress knitting to see if I can get another full 2 repeats of the stripe pattern in another sock. And I'll let you know next time how that goes. The other thing I've been working on is the Spice Bloom pullover. I had started this, I think, the last time because I needed some knitting in between all of my Advent socks. And I had started the simple one color portion of the sweater. Now this is an Intarsia sweater that is meant to be, or can be, knit in the round. I chose to knit this flat back and forth, and then seam it at the end because I had seen a picture of the technique used to knit this sort of faux in the round, and I just preferred to knit it back and forth and do a mattress stitch up one side. So let me show you how I'm doing. The last time you saw this, it was just a yoke. It's quite dark navy, which is not the best color to be knitting with at this time of year. Also, that black sparkly yarn, not a great choice. My eyes are getting older and I can still see pretty well, but sometimes it's difficult to see black stitches in black socks. Anyway, so the last time you saw this, it was just a yoke, but I knit all of the Intarsia flower. And do you know what? I haven't knit Intarsia in a while, and I'm pretty proud of how I did. It's not perfect, and I definitely made mistakes. But I think that it's quite a lovely pattern, and it was a lot of fun to do. It is a little bit ripply through here, and I think that will all block out. My strands in this section, where the 2 pinks are, I used a stranded knitting technique and then Intarsia for the big blocks of color. So this section is stranded, but I think it should block out. If I pull it, it lays quite flat. So I'm looking forward to blocking this section to see how it turns out. So the Intarsia was challenging for me. I haven't done it in a while. And as you can imagine, this chart is quite large, but I'm happy with how it turned out. I've sewn in all the ends. There are lots and lots of ends on the inside. But I'm just gonna leave them like this until I have blocked it. And I find that blocking really sets the ends in, and then when you clip the ends after it's been blocked, they tend to sit nicely where you've left them. So I have completed all of that Intarsia. I knit some ribbing on the bottom, and then I did a sewn bind off. I have knit one of the sleeves. And let me tell you, when you knit a worsted weight sweater after having knit many, many fingering weight or worsted weight sweaters, it goes really fast. This is the sleeve, and you can tell I have a dog. Oh man, this is gonna need a good lint roller. Yeah, so nothing fancy about this sleeve. Hopefully it's just right. I did knit it to the instructions and it probably is a little long, but it's got a 3-inch cuff that I did a sewn bind off on as well. So I can always roll that up if I need to. The second sleeve is still on, on my barber cord. So I'm gonna be picking that up later today and knitting that out. And then all I'll have to do is pick up some stitches around the collar, block it, and then lint roll it to get all of my dog's hair out of this sweater. Wow. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Enough sass, thank you. So this is the Spice Bloom sweater, and I have lots of the colors, of these colors left. The pink and like the 2 colors of pink and green, I probably have more than half a skein left. So if you are interested in knitting this sweater and you would like the colors, these colors, I obviously don't have enough of the navy to send you, but if you would like to, if you're interested in the yarn that I used, why don't you go ahead and send me an email and we can talk about sending that out to you. I have, yes, as I said, probably more than half of each of the skein, plenty to make at least this size, which was the 45-inch sweater. So lots left over if you're interested in making this sweater and using these colors. Let me know and we can maybe work out a deal. So that is my Spice Bloom sweater. Now I do have some plans for the new year. I thought I'd take this opportunity to show you some of the things that I'm looking forward to knitting in 2024. I've knit quite a few things in 2023. And if you want to see them, you can watch my old videos. But I thought it would be nice to share some of my plans moving forward. And maybe you can tell me some of the things that you're planning on knitting in the show notes below. Last year, I had taken it upon myself to crank out a whole bunch of sock tubes so that every month I could make a new pair of socks from some sock tubes. And that was a very successful venture. I have so many socks. My sock boxes are well stocked. And this year, continuing on the same vein, I think I'd like to work through my stash of sock yarn. I have lots of self-striping sock yarn. It doesn't help that I had joined a monthly subscription last year where every month I got a new skein of sport self-striping yarn. That yarn has all gone into the bags from last year. So every month I will pull down a little paper bag and there's a new skein of yarn that I'll be knitting some sport weight socks in. And my goal this year is to just knit at least 1 pair of socks a month as a way to get through my sock stash. Do you have plans for this year? Do you have plans for your stash or just things you'd like to be knitting this year? I do like to set myself little goals, even if it's just a pair of socks a month. I think that with sport weight yarn, it'll go a little faster, so that's sort of nice. But I don't want to be a slave to my stash. I don't want to feel like I have too much or that I'm not using it or that it's too precious to use. So this year I'm going to be knitting at least 1 pair of socks a month, maybe 2. We'll see how it goes. But I just want to be able to use the yarn that I have. I bought it because I liked it, and so it shouldn't just stay on the shelf. I want to be using it. So that's one of the things I plan on doing this year. I have a few sweater patterns or plans for the next couple months, and I thought I'd share those with you now. The first one I'd like to knit is the Klee sweater. This is a sweater by Midori Hirose. I'm sure I'm saying her name wrong, but I'm of course going to put it on the screen. This is a sweater that has been in my queue for a little while. As soon as it came out, I really enjoyed the simple color work and the color blocking, and it made me interested in Klee's art because obviously if I was interested in the sweater, I wanted to know more about the origin of it. So I had a look at some of this painter's art, and I was really interested in it. Some of it was familiar to me and some of it was new to me, but I really liked the colors and the play and the block, some of the really graphic blocking paintings. And so I used that as inspiration for coming up with some color combinations of yarn that I have had in my stash for quite some time. I have little leftovers of sport weight yarn from various sweaters that I've knit. I think some of it is from a striped sweater. Actually, I knit 2 striped sweaters, so I'm sure it's from both of those. I knit my husband a sweater a few years ago, and that was also a sport weight yarn. So I have a bunch of yarns that are of similar weight, and I think of most of them are from the same dyer. So they're very similar yarns. And I took them all together. I came up with a palette, and I'll be casting that on once the Spice Bloom is off my needles. This is going to be the main color of the sweater. It's very, very neutral, and you'll see that's a theme in the sweaters I want to be knitting. This is some Ulysses yarn. I picked this up when I was on my knitting trip this fall. This is from La Mercerie in Bainbridge Island, and it is a sport weight yarn, 100% wool. This colorway is translate to pepper and salt, and it's just a really, really beautiful neutral. And so I'm looking forward to having a sweater with a whole bunch of color work around the yoke, but a really, really neutral base. So that will be probably the first sweater that goes on my needles. I'm really looking forward to using that yarn. The next yarn is actually really similar to the first. It is again yarn that I picked up on my fall trip. I got this though at Knit City in Vancouver. This is a DK yarn, and it is a Finn and BFL cross lamb's wool, so it's also quite soft. This one though is a DK weight, and it's called Driftwood Heather. It's from San Juan Woolworks, and it's a really, really lovely feeling yarn. Again, very similar in color to the first one that I'll be making. And this one is going to be a very plain utilitarian cardigan. I plan on making the Eva cardigan, a pattern by Petite Knits. Petite Knit patterns just really speak to me because they're like a wardrobe staple, and something I think that would be really, really easy to just pull on and wear. I do have a blue sweater that I knit years ago. It's a big, cozy cardigan sweater, and I wear it a lot around the house as something that's cozy that I can just pull on if I'm cool. And I can see the Eva cardigan being something similar in this beautiful neutral color. So I'm looking forward to having that in my wardrobe as well. And then the final sweater that I have planned for the next few months is definitely a spring and summer knit. It's called the Helix Pullover, and this is a pattern by Jessie Maid Designs. Jessie Maid comes up with some really lovely and unique sweater patterns, tank top patterns, t-shirt patterns, and this one is no different. It's very lacy. I think it would be a really nice piece that you could just pull on if you've been out in the sun and you need to cover up, or if it's a little chilly in the evening in the spring or the summer. And I think it would be a great addition to a summer wardrobe. This pattern I had purchased some yarn for last summer, and this is a yarn that I had been wanting to try for quite some time. It is by Ritual Dyes. This is a yarn dyer out of Portland, Oregon, I believe, yes. And this is called Undine. Undine is a 4-ply fingering weight yarn that is 60% organic cotton and 40% linen. It is a very, how to describe it? It's not soft at the moment because it's cotton and linen. It should soften up as I wear it and wash it. And so I'm looking forward to giving this yarn a try. I've heard so many good things, and it's often used in tank tops and t-shirts, again by Jessie Maid. But I look forward to giving it a try for this Helix pullover. She has several different patterns in this sort of Helix collection. The one I'm going to be knitting is just a fairly simple in structure. It's just a simple pullover, but it does have an all over lace pattern. So I'm looking forward to knitting that for spring and summer. Again, a very, very neutral yarn that I'll be using. So it'll be interesting to see as I work through my planned sweaters for the next few months, if I start to get tired of the beige or if the sweater pattern and the product at the end is enough to keep me going. I'll also have some stripy socks on the needles, so that's something that should keep me motivated too. And I have one other thing that I have been interested in making, which is not knitting or crochet. Before Christmas, I had made a couple of cross-stitch pictures for my daughters. I had shown you those, I think, before Christmas, but I'll show you those again here. And once again, I sort of got this bug for cross-stitching. And I thought it'd be nice to find myself some kits to work on in the new year. So I looked around and I sort of did some digging around. One of my favorite cross-stitch designers, Junebug and Darlin, has always got beautiful pictures, but there wasn't really anything that was speaking to me just in this moment. And then I discovered a series of cross-stitch pictures by Diana Waters. Diana Waters also is a Canadian cross-stitch designer. She's on Etsy, and I will include her information in the show notes below. This series of cross-stitch pictures combines two things I really enjoy: cross-stitch and mysteries. I enjoy mysteries on TV programs. I also enjoy reading nice, fluffy, fun mysteries in books. And I'm looking forward to this project, which is 5 cross-stitch pictures, all in 8-inch hoops. And each hoop describes a character's living room or kitchen or greenhouse. And each clue or each picture is a clue to the mystery. So one is a who, a what, a where, a when, and a why. And they all come in 5 cross-stitch pictures. So by the time the 5th one is completed, we should know what's happening or what the mystery is or what has happened. So I will let you know how this goes. Each picture or each portion of the mystery is a room in that person's home. So the first one, I believe, is a living room, I think. I'll let you know more as I get going, but the first one, I think, is a living room. So you get the cross-stitch picture of the living room, and it's got some clues as to what's happening in the story. And then you can also purchase a kit for the individuals or the characters' picture. So you can have a whole montage of pictures for this mystery. 5 characters, 5 rooms, 5 questions to answer: who, what, where, when, and why. So I'm looking forward to giving this a try. I've ordered the first room and character picture, and I do have room in my office just on this wall over here. So I'll keep you updated as these cross stitches come together. But I'm looking forward to giving this a try. I think it'll be sort of fun. It'll be creative. There's a mystery involved, and I'm hoping each kit has a little something to read that sort of contributes to the storyline. So I will let you know how that goes. But if you're interested, I will also include a link in the show notes below to Diana Waters' mystery series. And I have one other thing. It's a commissioned work. Not really. My brother-in-law is a farmer, and he's a very busy guy. And this is his favorite toque. And he texted me before Christmas to ask me if there's anything we could do about fixing the holes in this toque. It's his absolute favorite. And he said he doesn't mind if it's visible, like if you can see the fixes, but he just really wants to be able to continue to wear it. And so I said, for sure, there's something we can do. I guess the question will be how visible or how obvious the fixes are. Some of the fixes will be pretty simple, little small things. And I think that those will be easier. This hole over here is a little bit more of a challenge, but I've taken some books out of my local library, and I will be doing my best to come up with a solution for these little holes. I asked him how he wanted them fixed. Does he want them very obvious? Does it need to be the same green or yellow? And he said he doesn't mind if it's obvious. It just shows character. So I said, okay, I'll get some black yarns, I think, so that this poor old hat that's been through quite a lot will have some little fixes, some little darning sections, and a little bit more character. And then I'm going to give it a really good wash because I'm not sure when the last time this thing was washed. And then I'm going to give it back. So this is my commissioned work, and I'm looking forward to giving that a try. I have, as I said, ordered a couple of books on mending from my public library. I'm a big fan of the library. And I'm hoping that some of them will have some helpful descriptions on how to fix mending. I don't really want to do darning. I don't want to do the weaving. I'd like to sort of make it look like knitted stitches. And so again, I'll let you know how that goes and take some pictures of my progress as I go. What have you got in store for the new year? Do you have some plans? Are there some projects that you'd like to get started on? Or are you just waiting for inspiration to strike? That's okay too. Sometimes it's nice to wait until the right project comes along that you can get excited about and want to get working, get your hands involved with. Regardless of what you're working on, whether it's something you're super excited about or if you're still waiting for the right inspiration to come along, I hope that in the next couple of weeks you find time to do the things you like to do. I know I plan on knitting a lot. I'll see you soon, and Happy New Year.